go. Get this joker set up. It's that one spot it wants to be in, but it can't be in. But we've got a lot going on. $126 billion pulled by depositors from banks recently. It's billion with a B. Hundreds of thousands of jobs have been lost. More to be lost. Jerome Powell himself has said it. The goal, mission of the Federal Reserve is to raise interest rates, try to bring down inflation, induce pain for businesses and families, while also reducing jobs.
How those two don't go hand in hand, just FYI. Reduce pain for businesses and families.
Induce.
Oh, I thought you said reduce pain. Sorry, I was distracted by
He's shoving that pain in there. He's going to induce.
I was about to say, because reducing pain and reducing jobs do not go hand in hand. Reducing jobs increases pain.
Induce.
Okay.
I'm glad you said that, because I think that sometimes people may mishear or misread or missee what I say or what I share. Remember, believe half of what you see, none of what you hear. You ever know when someone is lying to you? Like, you can just feel it. We need to do this video, and we haven't yet.
Okay.
Because it's in here. We need to do it. Maybe we'll do it as a live stream. Let you guys decide. Comment down below if you would like this to be a live stream where we can engage back and forth real time when we have this conversation. But CBDC, central bank digital currency, Fed now, ISO 20022, crypto is on the verge of being wiped out. Meanwhile, they are telling us what CBDC means, what it could mean, the perks, the benefits, the pros. They've not listed one con.
Well, we all know what the main con is, and CBDC is probably the con itself, but the main con to it is the fact that it is all digital and can be turned off and on at will, and we have zero control over our money. They're not going to put that out there like that. They're going to hope people are too wrapped up in everything else to realize that part of it.
I just feel some kind of way when I hear them and what they're saying, and I just can't help but think maybe they're lying to us.
In which aspect? That there isn't going to be CBDC, or?
Oh, no. It's going to happen.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's definitely going to happen.
It's going to happen. And I was perusing. I was researching, collecting information to bring back to you guys and share this information with you. Because, one, thank you for tuning in again. Thank you for everyone who has subscribed. People who please hit the like button, comment, share, engage with us. Really do appreciate it. But I also realize that you don't necessarily have the time available to assimilate all this information and then dissect it to paint a possible future outcome, a picture of what could happen, then develop strategies to prepare for it. So I try to do that for us, but for you guys too. And in doing that, it has been revealed that a lot of these banks are not going to be ready for it. And it's actually for FedNow. So FedNow kicks off in July, which is the precursor, the introduction to CBDC, central bank digital currency. But the banks are saying that they're not going to be ready for it. The pros, the positives, the plus side to CBDC is 24/7, 365 service and almost instantaneous transactions that will improve the ability for businesses to conduct business with one another. with the central bank being in the middle of it with FedNow. But it's still a communication between banks and, different banks, merchants, vendors, companies, businesses for the time being until the central bank takes over and private banks and private institutions are wiped out. But the banks are saying they're not going to be ready for it. So it's almost like when this rolls out, it's going to cause more harm than good.
No, I fully agree. And I noticed out of everything you said, who's communicating with who, whatever else, they didn't say the people, the account holders, none of that. It was the merchants and business to business and everybody else, but they're not going to communicate with us. And we as people are going to be the last leg of all of it.
It may potentially be a piece of the puzzle that would further rush central bank digital currency, full-blown CBDC being rolled out, not just FedNow. Maybe create a solution, or actually once you have a solution, you need to then create the problem. They created this solution of CBDC, central bank digital currency, and then they needed to come up with a problem to roll it out.
True.
A lot of people have been asking how to buy crypto, how to buy cryptocurrency, how to buy XRP, how to buy into Ripple Labs, Bitcoin, BTC, gold as well. Mm-hmm. The whole shakiness of the financial sector and the banks, $126 billion being withdrawn, pulled out by depositors in these bank runs. $126 billion in actual withdrawals is probably several hundreds of trillions of dollars effectively in the mental, like the construct of this this fractional reserve banking system. It's a big deal.
Okay.
So it's a lot.
It's a lot.
Let me put it to you like this. Let's just say on average, most people have $1,000 in savings. Mm-hmm. Why am I saying that? Because if you're following along with Dave Ramsey's principles of the baby steps, step number 1 is to have an emergency fund of $1,000. So we'll say that everybody has $1,000 in cash, in savings in the bank.
Okay.
And the way that this fractional reserve banking works, it's not real money.
Okay.
But the real money helps create this platform to exponentially multiply and or divide the deposits. So $126 billion being pulled out from these bank runs is a big deal. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, Dave Ramsey would not agree with what I'm going to say next. And I'm going to say that everyone who has $1,000 in cash, in savings, in this emergency savings a fund, these resources available to them, has a 10x multiple on it in credit. Dave Ramsey is a huge opponent of credit. He doesn't like it.
No.
I have my reasoning behind why I think he doesn't like it, but we'll talk about that in another video. But everybody has a 10x multiple, right?
Yes.
So if you got $1,000 in cash, that means you have $10,000 in credit.
Okay.
Boom. All right. So if you take out $100, mm-hmm. now you have $900 in savings in mm-hmm. cash. You now have $9,000 of credit.
Okay.
This is how this fractional reserve banking is working essentially. So when you pull out $126 billion,
ooh.
When you pull out $900 of your safety net, mm-hmm. you're left with $100 cash and $1,000 credit. That's how they affect each other.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I just wanted to put that into perspective for people to understand what it means when you pull your money out. Yeah, your money comes out, but the ability for the ones and zeros to be spread out into the world in a form of a credit, so to speak, lending, it has a huge impact.
It also comes out.
Yes.
Basically.
You know, when people say that they want to get a loan, they want a business loan, they want a mortgage, they want a car loan, they want any personal loan, they want to borrow money. The banks may say we don't have it.
We can't do it. Or they're going to say, well, if we're going to do it, this is the interest you're going to have to pay on it to make it worth it. so that they can then start to recoup the money that has been pulled out.
Thanks, Jerome. But a lot of people are asking, how do they get involved in cryptocurrency? How do they get involved in XRP? How do they get involved in Bitcoin? How do they get involved in ETH? How do they get involved even in other diversity or diverse investment vehicles, protection vehicles, ways of trying to hedge against inflation and hedge against this potential contagion and systemic risk associated with the banks? Gold is a big one. A lot of people are asking more about gold. It is having a huge effect on the housing market. Just checking Zillow for homes for sale. And actually we were, have these conversations often with people about trying to buy homes, trying to sell homes. You share homes with me often on Zillow of what you're seeing, what you're finding, the pricing. A whole lot more open houses. People are not, the homes are sitting on the market. The prices are dropping. The offers are not coming in like they were, and they're not coming in over asking all cash. The cash is 50-50 because, cash could potentially be a factor to avoid the higher interest rates. But right now, the market is in a bit of a gray area, in my opinion. There's a lot of speculation about what's going to actually cause the crash. When will the crash occur?
And it might not be the same across the board. Different cities may crash at different times, different rates.
I don't think that there's going to be a crash, right? I don't think there's going to be a crash.
Maybe not in the sense of like the 2008 crash.
All right, let me put it like this. If there's a crash, I think the crash is going to come in the form of a huge decline and reduction in transactions.
In the sense of being able to get a loan from a bank.
Doesn't matter. Transactions.
Okay.
Whatever the factor may be, could be getting a loan, could be a seller doesn't want to sell because it's harder for them to buy. A seller doesn't want to sell because it's more expensive for them to downsize. Like whatever it may be, I would be willing to bet that if we see a crash, it will be in the form of a crash in the housing market where you start to see these homes listed for sale on Zillow sitting for longer periods of time. Therefore, we see a crash in transaction volume.
Okay.
I don't think anybody's really going into specific details about what the crash is. They just say it's a crash.
Yeah. Well, because if you have details, this is the way I've always looked at it. If all you hear is there's a crash, to be worried and scared of the whole thing. But if they tell you what is going to cause it, then you have the ability to try to find a way to fix it. It's not as scary then.
There are some people who were never affected by the recent boom in housing, nor will they be affected by the potential future crash. You know why?
Why?
You want to guess?
Because they're already homeowners who don't plan on selling or buying?
Bingo. So, what does a crash really mean if you're not going to sell? If you're not going to buy? Like, it doesn't matter.
It has no effect on those who aren't in the market or the game or the whatever, no matter what.
Yeah.
It only affects those who are trying to sell and those who are trying to buy. Okay. Whereas like an economic crash literally affects 99%.
Well, economic SHTF is essentially before us and worse than inflation. We'll potentially see 15% 30-year mortgage, 30-year fixed mortgage rates.
Yeah.
$15 a gallon gas, which when we're done with this, we got another video we got to do. We're going to talk about gas prices. OPEC. Oh boy. $20 dozen eggs.
Shoot. I've seen them already at $12 if you're depending on what you're going for. So
the simple fact of the matter is you're going to have to work very hard. You may have to work multiple jobs. You're going to have multiple streams of income to make a lot of money just to be broke.
Oh, that's lovely. That's helpful.
You get, and it's, I don't think some people get it.
Yeah.
I don't think some people understand. We were at a restaurant last night, And I had to have a talk with the manager
Oh man, golly, that place.
to explain to him how he and his staff is ultimately going to run this business
To the ground. Run
into the
themselves
ground.
out
Yeah,
of business.
like just, and I don't think people get it. I don't think people get it, and maybe they're in a position where they don't need to because they have support from someone else. You know, this is just like pocket change for them.
I think there's a lot of places that feel like they can't be touched just because of where they are and how many other options are around them or lack of options around them. So their willingness to do the best they can isn't really there because they feel like they don't need to because they're still going to get the business or the whatever else.
In the restaurant industry, in my opinion, I've never worked in the restaurant industry,
Worked in numerous restaurants.
but I would say I don't like the restaurant industry because I feel like your upside is limited
Very much so.
because restaurants are typically low margin businesses. You have a certain amount of seats, you have a certain amount of hours in a day, you have a certain amount of resources. Therefore, you could theoretically come up with a maximum of how much you could potentially produce in revenue daily. And you really can't exceed that. Unless you brought in more staff, more resources, more costs, more seats.
But I say no point in more staff if there's no more seats.
The only way that could potentially work out is if it's all orders for pickup or delivery, or you were selling some other goods that didn't require that, like T-shirts or other merch or some other alternative means of producing income, which is very important. We can talk about that more in another video. But I don't like it because you're limited. I don't like being limited on my upside. Therefore, if I see staff operating at a snail's pace, me personally, I'm looking at it like, oh, well, my upside that I already don't like being capped and having a ceiling just continuously gets lower. Because if at any given point in time I can seat 500 patrons a night at a certain pace, but then my staff chooses to work slower, I can only do 400 or maybe 300.
And then there goes your money. Unless those 300 are spending the same amount as 500, and the odds of that are like ridiculously small.
That's the other problem. The staff that was underperforming was at the bar, which in my opinion is going to be where you're going to make the most money. And the management doesn't understand this. The employees tending bar have no clue. Now, I'm not calling them bartenders. They were placed in that position that was on the schedule. They are not bartenders. Any real bartenders know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like Casino Royale. And Daniel Craig, he tells Vespa, he goes, she throws a jacket at him, or a suit or tuxedo to put on for the poker game. And he says, "What is this?" She goes, "It's a dinner jacket." He goes, "Well, I already have a dinner jacket." And she goes, "Well, there's dinner jackets, and then there's dinner jackets. This is the latter. There's bartenders, and then there's bartenders.
Yeah.
And this place does not have bartenders.
No.
This is it, folks. The other staff associated with the restaurant, the business, the company, the corporation, the ownership above that probably isn't really paying attention besides just looking at the numbers on the financial statements every month or every quarter, they're going to get blindsided. And why are we going out of business? The cook in the back, the staff that busts tables, they don't know. They have the cook maybe.
Because he'll know that he's not cooking as
Depending
many
on
things going as
how
quickly.
well he prepares the meals and how quickly he can have an impact.
Yeah.
But most of these are going to be oblivious to what's going on, not realizing how much they're coworkers or colleagues how much control and power they have over their fate, and they don't care, nor do they know.
I would say the downside to restaurants is that it is a legit team effort. And if the entire team doesn't understand that, the entire team fails. It's just the way it works. If I am the best server you've ever had, that's great. But if my kitchen staff isn't cooking the food, I can't be the best server because you're not going to get your food and you're going to be pissed. If the kitchen staff is cooking and they've got the food going, but the server isn't taking the food out to the table, none of it matters. Everybody has to be in sync with each other to keep it running like a well-oiled machine.
It's all parts of a whole, and why I prefer to work alone. Last but not least, I came across somewhat. Last but not least, I came across a YouTube short, another short, and the guy says, I make more money than an attorney, and I didn't even graduate college. He goes, find a job, find something, a service, a business that you can do well, that other people don't want to do, and figure out the price point of which they'll pay and make a lot of money. He makes over $100 an hour doing the job that he does. And if you guys want to know what that job is, then by all means, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, comment down below, and you guys stay tuned for the next one. Make sure alerts are turned on, your notifications. Thank you, SquirrelTribe. Thank you, Michelle. You all take care. Be safe. Be kind to one another. Don't forget to tip your bartenders and your waitresses. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.